Okay, we need to talk about Steam because there's quite a problem right now where anyone can take down any mod in Steam with just a single email, and Valve legally has got to comply. And right now, across Steam Workshop, mod creators are just watching years of work vanish. And it's not because of violated copyright. It's not like someone's just went and, I don't know, grabbed a thing from Warner Bros. That Warner Bros. Doesn't want to be a mod. No, this is the abuse of a system. And that's because a law that is supposed to protect copyright is being weaponized, and bad actors have figured out exactly how to exploit it. And it's very much on trend with 2025 stories, because be it laws or, in this story, systems to comply with laws or things like the payment processor stuff, it's clear that yes, Valve is earning billions off Steam. My god, it is coming with quite a huge ball ache. Just a quick question. Did you see the headline saying that a 20-kilometer long alien invasion spaceship is heading to Earth right now? Kind of a hilarious story. And yes, Avi Loeb, that one Harvard professor, does suggest that the interstellar object may be worth investigating, but Ground News shows me how some outlets did turn this into an impending alien invasion. I mean, check out these actual headlines. We've got America First reporting study reveals potential hostile alien threat. And then the aptly named Signs of the Times literally wrote, possible hostile alien threat detected. Meanwhile, buried in the actual story, NASA confirmed that it's a natural object with weak cometary activity. And when we look at this in Ground, we can actually see the bias breakdown. The right-leaning sources, guys, they kind of went full Independence Day talking about hostile aliens. That's a quote. The more center outlets were split between sensationalist alien spacecraft angles trying to get clicks and the actual science. The left sources, well, grats guys, you mostly stuck to the facts, saying it's the third interstellar object that we have spotted. But here's the kicker. Only 86% high factuality across these sources, which is way lower than usual because, well, so many outlets wanted to tell you that there's a 20-kilometer long alien spacecraft that's about to invade Earth. Does seem pretty good for views. But this kind of thing, while humorous, is exactly why Ground News is invaluable. Now, here we mostly talk about gaming, tech, the internet. You can follow all of those topics in Ground, as well, of course, as science and space. And, politics, which, gotta be real, Ground is absolutely killer for. Now, if you go to ground.news/Bellular, right, you'll get 40% off unlimited access with the Vantage plan. It's the plan that I use. It is the best price you'll get, and being real, if you enjoy what this channel brings you, well, Ground is pretty damn aligned with our mission on YouTube. I'll begin with the wave of attacks. We saw a Reddit post on r/Steam from user SignificantFig6290, and this thing really caught fire. It then spread. As an example, Vice reported it, saying that Steam is being flooded with DMCA notice strikes. This is, of course, on the workshop. Games Pressure highlighted this as a major Steam Workshop crisis. It spread all over the place, and basically, mod creators and players are alleging fraudulent claims. And this whole thing, as is experienced by, say, the average Steam user, basically is you're playing a game, that game has got a mod, then the mod just goes and disappears. You don't really know why. There's chaos everywhere, perhaps even some drama, which I'll get to shortly, but you also find that your saves are broken. So it is massively frustrating. Now, it turns out a lot of this is because a system can be exploited. But to try and get a handle on what's actually happening here, Reddit users did something spicy. They went and filed DMCA reports with knowingly false information. And the reason why is they wanted to test, basically, how does this system work? And quite simply, Valve does not review these things. Now let's talk about how this has actually hit real gaming communities. There's a fairly big one in the form of Hearts of Iron 4, and it's where this started, but it's hit other games as well. It's hit Left 4 Dead 2 with custom campaigns and character mods, Terraria, where quality of life mods have been hit, Gary's mod, where Prop Hunt was briefly hit, it's now restored, and then City Skylines 2 got hit, including a very popular mod called Move It, which, if you've played games like that, the tools that allow you to just have more fine-grained placement of things, for many people, those are core to the game basically being playable. Another game that was hit was then Stellaris with some UI overhaul mods. So none of this is great. And for the mod creators in the receiving end, what they basically face is this. They either accept the deletion of their mod, or they can fight back. Now, fighting back means filing a counter notice. Filing a counter notice requires your full legal name, your address, which very often will be your home address. Now, maybe if you've got a business address, you can do that, but if you don't, you kinda can't. So all of that info, your phone number as well, and guess where that gets forwarded to? By law, it gets forwarded to the claimant, which obviously is quite a large security risk if people are basically abusing this system. But you might be wondering, why? Why the hell is any of this happening? Well, attention to this story really spiked when one specific mod dispute blew up, and it showed how bad actors can just exploit this system. And it happened with Hearts of Iron. And the mods are The Fire Rises, which is a very popular mod for the game, and Long Rising of Darkness, which is a Chinese-created mod that uses The Fire Rises as its base. Top marks if you can maybe work out where this story's going. The two mod teams had a falling out, and a DMCA was filed against Long Rising of Darkness. Now, that meant that mod was taken down. The teams then reportedly resolved their dispute privately, but the original mod was taken down by Valve, and the DMCA was not withdrawn in time. Now, the mod has been re-uploaded under a new title, but that was hit by another DMCA on 10th. Now, from what we understand, the teams had already made up by then, so this was maybe unrelated trolls, because a slew of Hearts of Iron 4 mods were hit. And the reason they were hit is quite simple. Bad actors learned a lesson from this. And this led to spillover, where similar takedowns spread all across Steam. Very, very simple pattern. Popular mods get targeted, somebody claims ownership, files one of these, the mod vanishes, and no documentary proof of their claim. No sort of accuracy is required. And this meant a lot of people were pissed off at Valve, basically thinking, guys, what the hell? This is an insane system to exist. Now, obviously, I'm here in YouTube, and over in YouTube, we're pretty used to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So let's talk about it. Okay, here's the legal reality. The DMCA, which is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, has got a fun little thing called Section 512, and it works like this. Whenever someone sends Valve a compliant copyright claim, Valve has got to act expeditiously to keep its Section 512 safe harbor. If Valve does not do that, they risk losing their Section 512 safe harbor protections. And once that's lost, they are exposed to liability, extreme liability, like billions in potential damages. If you know the deeper history of YouTube, you will know that there are some humongous legal cases, well, that basically did shape how the entire platform works. And that basically is why platforms remove first. They're basically not adjudicating the truth. What they're doing is they're managing liability. If you're a huge company, it's kind of understandable why they do that. Now, if you want to fight back, yes, you file a counter notice. But here's the thing. By law, that counter notice, as I said, includes your name, your address, your phone, and a perjury statement. And the platform must forward that to the claimant, which could be a big company's legal team, or in this case, could just be a troll. And that means you're giving personal information, often a home address, unless you've got a business or a council address, to someone who is already attacking you. Now, there is then a 10 to 14 business day clock. If the claimant doesn't file a lawsuit, the platform must restore access. If they do file a lawsuit, then your content will generally stay down while that case proceeds. And in practice, what this means is, if you want to rustle Jimmy's, man, you can really do it, right? This is so easy to abuse, where bad actors can just trigger takedowns with a decent enough looking compliance form. That means that content gets disrupted for 10 to 14 days, and then creators, well, if they want to deal with the problem, they face real safety risks and legal risks to get that stuff restored. But here's the thing. This is not Valve Corporation being lazy. This is United States copyright law, and it is fundamentally broken for user-generated content at this scale. Let's talk about Valve's response, or rather Valve's lack of response. So number one, there was a big pressure effect where this was, well, all over the place. Vice, Game Pressure, loads of others picked up this story, and we then found that as the story caught on, many of the affected mods were quietly restored. As an example, Prop Hunt and Gary's mod is now back up, several Hearts of Iron 4 mods have been restored, and it does look like Valve have done some cleanup here. But then the story does get a little weird. If you kind of go back to Reddit, you see that the same Reddit poster, Significant Fig, edited their post, the post that went viral. Now, it was edited to say, "We've achieved a preliminary victory." And it says, quote, "After testing with some Steam users, Valve will now delete non-compliant DMCA reports, suspend reporter Steam community access, and that when they do that, the suspension reason will allegedly be, quote, part of a group spamming the DMCA tool." That all does look quite good, but it is also just a Reddit post. And it's a Reddit post that, well, isn't really containing of much hard proof. I mean, it says, "After testing with some Steam users." Don't really know what that is, right? There's no screenshots of like official Valve communication here. You could say it's a convenient edit to a viral post. It could be taking some credit for Valve doing one-off cleanup. We've seen, as an example, PC Games N run this news in, I'd say, a way that maybe oversells the idea that Valve have made a big policy change without that really being like properly sourced. What I can say is, here's what we actually know. Valve appears to have cleaned up this specific wave of abuse after press attention. Some mods have been restored, and the obvious trolling has stopped. But there has been zero evidence of actual policy change. We haven't got an official statement. There have been no updated guidelines, right? Like the Steam rules, if those were updated, we would know. There are no new protections for creators. Hopefully, Valve are working on something like that, but the system that has allowed all of this to happen does appear to basically be exactly the same. And that means that the next wave of trolls could probably just use the same exploits if they really wanted to. Support tickets are still getting generic responses from Valve, and many developers are still hiding mods for protection, basically until this all blows over and we know what's actually going on. So essentially, it's a familiar pattern. A crisis happens, press cover it, Valve then, cleans up the worst examples, but the system stays broken until the next wave of drama. And this all begs the question, is this a solvable problem? And I guess the broader thing, is there anything Valve could actually do to make this whole thing better? And unfortunately, it's not really looking too bright. Here are the sort of things that Valve could do within Section 512. They could require stricter identity verification to actually send notices, the sort of thing that would filter out trolls. They could implement some rate limiting for serial reporters. They could perhaps create some trusted creator programs. They could provide guidance on using business and council addresses so that mod makers aren't worried that the only way to get their mod back up is to give a troll their personal identifiable information. And they could also add human review for suspicious cross-game patterns, as in people who are just firing off loads of takedowns across mods for different games. And shockingly, another thing they could do is actually communicate when they take action and why. And this doesn't just matter for mods. This is fairly big. And that's because mods actually matter. They are retention engines. They keep games alive. And to actually get a little bit of comment on this, we gotta go to big Mr. Corporate Word Salad Man, Andrew Wilson, the CEO of Electronic Arts. He calls UGC, user-generated content, the future of entertainment. And he's basically right in quite a few ways. One of the things that he very much talked about is the idea that the one thing that correlates with players spending money in your game is the amount of time that they are spending within your game. And I mean, for one example here, we've seen that Castle Crashers is adding user-generated content tools. And it's a 17-year-old game. And going back to Electronic Arts, if you look at the stuff for Battlefield, it has got pretty damn insane, custom game mode, custom map making things. Seriously, it's not just server settings. It's basically in-game sort of mod creation tools that are built using the Godot engine. So it's quite something. Now, there's deeper problems as well, because if you break a mod ecosystem, that can actually kill communities. It can lead to corrupted saves, fractured multiplayer, and now a bit of a chilling effect where some creators are hiding their work preemptively. And of course, I would say that mods are absolutely, a valid form of artistic expression. That means that there are mods that people may not agree with, mods that people might find offensive. And then a system like this could be abused to take those mods down. I think this is obviously a bad thing. But what it also is Valve kind of at their worst. One of the strengths of Valve is that they create good systems, and then those systems handle problems for them, right? Basically, that the store ends up being a little bit kind of like self-enforcing. You've got user reviews and, all the things where Valve are a little bit more hands-off, a little bit more sort of libertarian in their kind of DNA. For a different example, we can look at GOG, because GOG have just launched a curated one-click mod system. They've done it like working hand in hand with mod teams. That's an example of being hands-on and that leading to an amazing user experience, whereas here, Valve going hands-off is enabling abuse and leading to a very bad player experience. And of course, it's a problem for Valve because those players are also Valve's customers. But all of this happens in the context of a law written in 1998. And to be honest with you, Valve can do some things, but there are severe limits as to how far they can go. The DMCA was written in 1998 for Napster-era problems, and if you're not from, I guess, my generation or like a little bit older, you might not even know what these things are. Napster, LimeWire, if you wanted music, you would just download it. And that obviously led to rights holders being very, very pissed off, and, in quite a few ways, kind of fair enough. People were just pirating their stuff, and I guess the guy who kind of got us out of this mess, or helped us get out of this mess, it's kind of Gabe, it's kind of Valve. When they said that piracy is a service problem, the core idea, people are often okay for or happy to buy a product. It's just they want it to be, to be good, to be convenient. That's where, say, iTunes and Spotify ended up being a good old innovation that helped the music industry get some of its money back. But also allows for Spotify to do all of Spotify's fun things regarding creator payouts. Enough of that, though. The big point today is that it was never designed for modern user-generated content. It's a law that assumes good faith that doesn't exist at scale, because it's a law designed for, say, Sony or Universal to get their music taken down from a piracy website. It's not at all designed for the situation we currently find ourselves in. And it's a US law. Congress appears unlikely to fix this soon. And it's not to say there can't be legitimate disputes. We had one recently within games on Old School Rally. Now, the idea of, hey, we're bringing back Old School Rally games, that's sweet. But, they were using some car stuff that they didn't really have license for. And you can see that as being a legitimate dispute, but it causes obvious collateral damage. And the platforms, they are caught between legal requirements and user trust. And that's a story we're seeing everywhere. But as for this, I would say Valve is not the villain here. I don't think this is a malicious situation from them. I think they're essentially trapped by a law written before Steam even existed. DMCA abuse on Steam is, I guess, relatively new as a big news story, although it absolutely does have a long enough history. Most of us will know it more from, say, YouTube, right, where it can be easily exploited to just get content taken down. It's sad, though, that here it's mod creators being the ones who are paying the price of unclear policies and what Valve does bear culpability for, which is a poorly implemented DMCA system. If Valve is to do anything, it is to make their implementation better. And here's the problem. Until Congress fixes the DMCA, or Valve is able to find a creative workaround within Section 512 so they still keep their safe harbor, this will just keep happening again and again and again. Because the system is working exactly as designed. It's just designed for a world that no longer exists. And those with the power to change it really don't seem to have an interest in changing it. Almost as if none of this stuff that matters to us matters to them. And, where this law being pretty heavy-handed and, being take down first, solve problem later, who does that play into the hands of? And I think you can easily suspect that this completely just archaic, not fit for purpose law, staying the way it is, it's almost as if that's, really big for large incumbent companies. Do you think there could be a relationship between that and there not being common sense changes? Maybe. That is it for this video, but it's not it for us talking about Valve. There are big stories coming up soon, but till then, I want you to watch this video next because it's going to be pivotal to understanding what's going on over the next few weeks. We basically talk about the sort of air quotes game crash and what is really going on in our industry. If you felt that something's a bit off, something's a bit weird, I think it's a video that will help you understand why.